Hi, and welcome to a new feature here on STLSportsPage.com. Also, we're going to be posting this on rainbowsforkids.org, our charity arm here of the website as well. Rob Rains along with Sally Tippett Rains with me here today. So welcome to this new feature. Hopefully it's something that you guys will find useful and be able to use and have some fun with at the same time.
Yeah, we're all kind of cooped up. We're all in this together. We were just thinking about everybody. We've got people that we're talking to right now are sports fans from our STLSportsPage.com. And we have some cancer families from our rainbowsforkids.org, our friends and our families. And, we care about you, and we just wanted to help think of a way to maybe have some fun. And one of the things is we have the opportunity to do that because we have the websites, we have the platform.
Right. And I think one of the things, obviously, the platform usually is used to cover sports, and we're like everybody else in the world with no sports. It's been kind of strange and kind of odd as we've been, kind of get through this coronavirus deal together. And one of the things that we wanted to mention, we're going to have the new feature primarily is going to be some quizzes that we're going to do, and we're going to get to that here in a little bit. But I think a couple other things to mention right off the bat as we all try to get through this quarantined stay-at-home orders and things together is you and some of the other neighbors here in our neighborhood have banded together and had some fun activities. We had a treasure hunt for the kids. So why don't you talk a little bit about some of the ideas that we've had here in the neighborhood and maybe give people out there some tips on if they're at home with their kids or some opportunities for what they could do.
It's really been amazing. I mean, our neighborhood, we don't all know each other. It's just probably both, many people out there have the same thing. And one of the residents decided to start a Facebook page in the fall, and she said, let's have a Halloween party. And people walked up there to support her. And all of a sudden, when this happened, she started posting on there, and she said, why don't we come up with some ideas and activities? And it's been amazing. We have like a calendar and everything. So we're going to go ahead and post some of the ideas that you could maybe do with your neighborhood on our website, stlsportspage.com.
And I think one of the future ideas coming up is an Easter egg hunt, but not just one in your own yard, kind of combining it to a bunch of the neighborhood yards on a couple of streets. So that should be a lot of fun.
And they were talking about having not just candy for the kids, but maybe little bottles for the
Oh, I like that idea. I hadn't heard that. Good. I may have to get involved in that one. I think, too, the other thing is that obviously people are wondering what's open, what's not open. We have that story covered as well on another story here on STLSportsPage.com as we all try to get through all of this together because I think, one of the things, obviously, is we don't know when baseball is going to return or any other sports for that matter. They're in negotiations now between the union and the commissioner's office as far as when to come back. I think the earliest you'll see games being played is probably the first part of June, which would mean the training camp opening probably in the middle of May, but I don't know if that might be a little premature as well. So obviously we're monitoring that. We'll keep all that news for you whenever it happens, when we do get word that baseball, like all those other sports and all the other just activities of life, is coming back to normal.
And unfortunately, all of our Rainbows for Kids activities are on hold for now. So we've actually, one thing that has been really cool, and we appreciate anyone who sponsored us because they enable us to be able to do that is we had somebody, my sister Barb actually, who made some masks, and we've been able to send them out to our Rainbows for Kids families. So we've been able to do something for them.
We do urge everybody to be safe, wear gloves if you're going to be at the gas station or anywhere where you're touching an area, an elevator or anything like that, where a lot of people might who have the germ and not even know it, you could come into contact with and have no idea where it comes from. So be using your Germ-X. Hopefully you got a nice supply of toilet paper on hand at home before that all rumored out. If you do have some extra time and you're looking for an activity to do, I have one recommendation before we're going to get to the quizzes here in a second. But Sally wrote a book last year, and it's called Choose Happy, Find Contentment in Any Situation. And I think it's really important for people to go through something like that we're all going through right now. There's obviously this book was written before any of this happened, before anybody knew about COVID-19 or anything like that. But I think the message that comes through in that book, which I think is something that's very appropriate to everything that we're going through right now, is how you choose how you're going to look at any situation. Your attitude is primarily the biggest thing that you can control, and you can either have a negative attitude or a positive attitude about the situation that we're all in right now. And I think if you have a positive attitude, no matter what situation you're facing, you're going to have an easier time getting through it.
You can be positive or pitiful, but you can't be both.
Better, not bitter.
And honestly, actually, we've had a situation. Your mother passed away this week, and it's a terrible time for any of you going through that you have a loved one in a nursing home or the hospital or something and you can't get in to see them or whatever. So we just got to band together and kind of just work together. We're all friends. We're all here. Let's just have
Yeah, we'll
some
get
fun.
through it all. So that's one, and that's where this idea came up with. That the primary thing that we're going to be doing here in this feature is offering quizzes to some people. So we've got a few that we're going to be doing here on a regular basis. We're going to start out with one today. Be having some more posted shortly. So if anybody, we don't have a lock on all of the topics for possible
help.
quizzes. So anybody's got any ideas for some quizzes, just send them in to us at stlsportspage.com. You can send in the questions and the answers. We'll give you credit for it. Our good friend Gene Ackman has done one for us on the Andy Griffith Show that we're going to be coming up with soon. And Mike Raines, our son, helped us out with one about some quotes, movie quotes. Barb did some Christmas movie trivia. So you said Suzanne Corbett just did.
She just came in with a food. I think it's about about restaurants and food. So anything you want to, and we have something
Famous
about
Missourians was one.
Famous
Somebody in front of
Missourian.
yours just
Karen
did.
Gore sent that to us. Lisa Flitner sent one about different types of wood. So any topic is fine.
Yeah, so we'll be getting to those here. As I don't know that we'll be posting a new one necessarily every day, but just keep checking back on the website and you'll find the latest ones posted there. But the one today we're going to talk about is just general St. Louis sports questions.
We'll
But
see
of
how
course,
this goes.
First of all, though, Sally asked when we started come up with this idea. This was her idea to come up with this, and we
So what'd you come up with?
we decided that we're going to do this, and she said, help me out by writing a category. So I said, okay, I have a fun idea. Get to know more about Rob Raines.
You seriously wrote questions about yourself?
Yeah, and you took a couple of them out, so there's not as many as there were that I originally wrote.
I was not going to have all these.
But I think, it's our
Questions about
website.
you.
People need to know why we're here
That's
and
right.
who we are, so we'll test their
And there's
knowledge.
some people out there
There are
that
no
probably
prizes.
don't know.
We're not giving out any prizes. If you get a perfect score, just congratulations. That means you're probably one of my best friends. But if you struggle a little bit with some of these questions, then maybe you'll have better luck on the next quiz. So if you want to get a piece of paper out, pause the video, whatever, and just so you be able to write the answers to your questions down as we go here. We're going to give all the answers at the end of the after asking the questions, or just kind of go along as you're watching and think of the answers yourself, and then see if you're right at the end.
Okay, let's get started.
Question 1.
What is Rob's most recent book?
And this is actually kind of a trick question right off the bat because it's a co-written book with you. Came out last year. So that's question 1. Question 2, what was my first book? Written many, many years ago. Question
Of
3.
Rob's 32 published books, how many were fiction? There's an interesting story there.
Yeah. Question 4. One of the books that I wrote years ago was called Mark McGwire Home Run Hero when he was breaking the home run record. How many different languages, not counting English, was that translated into?
I wish I had brought the copy
we
up so we could have
Forgot that
seen
again.
it.
Yes. Forgot that again.
Because they're pretty neat.
Turn
And
back tomorrow.
copies, I should say.
Maybe we'll show that on tomorrow's segment.
What national baseball publication did Rob help launch in 1991 as the National League beat writer? And some of our friends from Washington, D.C. that are watching it now will probably know that.
That was question 5. Question 6, what was the name of the daily radio show that I hosted with our son BJ and his good friend, high school teammate Chris Geis from 2010 through 2012?
And that would still be going on if they had not changed the format to the women's format.
And I do feel sorry for people that have to do a daily radio show right now about sports because
So there
it's
you
a
go.
lot of tough topics to talk about. So. Question 7, what was the name of my biography of Tony La Russa that was published by Triumph Books, came out in 2009?
And the worst one on there was,
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
where did Rob go to college?
Anybody who knows me should know the answer to that question.
Yes, and anybody who knows me should, no comment.
All right, question 9. We're going to switch over now to some more general St. Louis sports questions. What was the name of the women's pro basketball team that played in St. Louis from 1979 through 1981?
You can keep asking.
Question 10. Frank Cusimano, popular TV radio personality here in St. Louis, our good friend. Where did he go to high school? For a truly St. Louis question. Question 11. What was the name of the wrecking company that blew up the Checkerdome or the arena? I actually don't remember which name it was going by at the time that they tore it down.
Okay. Who was the last coach of the football Cardinals, as the Cardinals were known before they moved to Arizona?
Question 13. Who was the announcer for the original St. Louis Steamers of the Major Indoor Soccer League, the public address announcer, for the original St. Louis Steamers, the Major Indoor Soccer League, playing 1979 through 1988?
It's on the tip of your tongue, some of the people I know. Who was the St. Louis Cardinals player that gave an obscene gesture to the entire crowd at Busch Stadium?
Still one of the more bizarre games I was ever covering that game. That was question 14. Question 15. Who were the two well-known sports editors, one from the St. Louis Globe-Democrat, one from the Post-Dispatch, who appeared on KMOX Radio in the 1970s and 80s as the hosts of the Sports Open Line programs?
What former Cardinals catcher famously said in a commercial for Miller Lite, "I must be on the front row"?
That was question 16. Question 17. Speaking of former Cardinal catchers, which one was known by the nickname Simba? And question 18, the final question of this quiz. Name 6 St. Louis sportscasters, radio or television, who moved over to the news side. They can be living or dead. So either radio or television, 6 sportscasters who turned over and then became news directors. So that's our questions for the first edition of the, I think we forgot to give the name of this program.
Oh, yeah, the name. Okay.
We actually came up with a name for this that you thought of, and we're going to call this Weathering the Storms with the Rains.
It's a great name for a show. Weathering the Storms of Life with the
Weathering the
Rains.
Storms of Life with the Rains. So,
by the way, please make sure you keep in touch with us. If you have any comments, if we're talking too fast on the questions, or if you have any better way we can do it, let us know. We're just kind of.
and again, if you've got some topics for future quizzes, we have some in the can, but who'll be coming out here shortly. But if you have some more, we're not sure exactly how long that we have to get through this COVID-19 quarantine. So if you have some ideas for future quizzes, either write them down or just send them the topics to us, the question, topics, and answers, as well to the email account is stlsportspage@gmail.com.
Okay, hope this is helping you get through at least a few minutes here, so we'll give you the answers
Here
now.
come the answers for the first quiz here on Weathering the Storms with the Rains. Question 1. Our most recent book, we wrote it together, called All Roads Lead to St. Louis, a guide to the Cardinals and their minor league teams. Hopefully you'll be needing it again soon when they start playing.
Rob's first book was Wizard with Ozzie Smith, published in 1988. Actually, you wrote 2 books with Ozzie.
When he got into the Cooperstown Hall of Fame, we did another book later on. So, yeah. The 32 published books that I've had, the only one that was fiction was one. It was called The Curse, Cubs Win, or Do They? Co-written with our good friend and another former radio co-host of mine, Andy Van Slyke.
That was a very cool book, and it was just a shame that the Cubs actually won the World Series because it was a great book.
We actually were in discussions about possibly making it into a movie before the Cubs actually won the World Series, and that scuttled the idea.
It was a lot of fun.
Question 4, how many different languages Mark McGwire Home Run Hero translated into? The answer was 2, Chinese and Japanese, when it came out.
Okay. What national baseball publication did Rob help start? USA Today, Baseball Weekly, and now it's called USA
Sports
Today,
Weekly.
Sports Weekly, if it's still in business
It is.
after this.
Yeah, it is. So it was a good publication. We were there in 1991 through 1995. It was a lot of fun. So, the name of the daily radio show that we hosted, BJI and Chris Geis, was called The Sports Zone on 1380 AM.
The Tony La Russa book you wrote was Tony La Russa, Man on a Mission.
And, of course, anybody who knows me that knows that the alma mater is the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
And I went to Mizzou.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
difficult
We don't have to talk
marriage.
about that. All right, now moving on to the general St. Louis sports questions. The name of the women's pro basketball team played in St. Louis 79 to 81. You had a connection with them as well.
Yes, the St. Louis Streak. I got to cover them for KMOX Radio. I worked as a sports reporter, and that was one of my great beats.
Our good friend Frank Cusimano, popular TV and radio personality, he talks about his high school almost as much as I talk about the University of Kansas when we're on the radio show together. The Palace on Ballast, DeSmet High School. Question 11, the name of the wrecking company that blew up the Checkerdome and or the arena, Spiritus. The last coach of the football Cardinals before they moved to Arizona from St. Louis, Gene Stallings. Great guy. The announcer for the original public address announcer for the original St. Louis Steamers, the Major Indoor Soccer League team. This is question 13. If you're keeping
Kevin
track.
Slayton.
That's right. That's right.
And the person who gave the obscene gesture, I'm sure everyone of a certain age will remember that day. It was Gary Templeton.
Yep, 1980, I believe, 81, one of those 2 years. I don't remember exactly what that was. The our 2 good friends who were the sports editors of the Globe and the Post back in the day, also appearing on radio, Bob Burns and Bob Bragg.
The bench warmer, Bob Burns. And did Bob Bragg have a nickname?
I don't remember him having a nickname.
Okay.
His column was just, Burns' column was called The Bench Warmer in the newspaper. I don't think Bob had a name for his column. The former Cardinals catcher with I Must Be on the Front Row commercial, Bob Uecker, of course. The catcher with the nickname Simba going into the Hall of Fame. We don't know yet if they're going to be able to have the Hall of Fame ceremonies in Cooperstown this year because of all the bans on crowds, but hopefully they'll get that lifted in time for Ted Simmons to be inducted into Cooperstown in July. And
so
the final
you'd
question.
be surprised to know that there were 6 St. Louis sportscasters, either radio or TV, who moved over to the news side. Maybe there's even somebody we forgot about.
That's true. There's at least 6.
But yeah, go ahead and name them all.
Yeah, Bill Wilkerson, Mike Bush, Randy Naughton, Steve Savard, and Maurice Drummond.
And bonus information, Monica Adams, who used to work at Fox 2 and recently joined KSDK, she also got her start in sports.
Doing radio, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, hey, hopefully you enjoyed that first quiz. As I say, if you got some ideas for other ones, we're going to have to be back with more. Again, some of the topics to come will be famous Missourians, some movie quotes, Christmas movies. One of the radio stations in St. Louis playing Christmas music now, and people actually said maybe we should put up some Christmas lights in the window again to kind of help us get through all this storm. Again, so highly recommend the book Choose Happy if you're looking for a pick-me-up book to read to kind of help with your attitude about all of this as we go forward. But
I want to say something
we'll be
about
back
the
with some
Choose
more
Happy
quizzes.
real quick.
Sure.
We gave it out to our families of kids with cancer and Rainbows for Kids. And also, if there's anybody out there that's just really feeling desperate and can't afford the thing, I would be happy to send it to you. So, I mean, you can buy it on our website, but if you contact me, if somebody really needs some inspiration or whatever, I would be happy to send it to you.
So, thanks for joining us. Rob Rains, Sally Tippett Rains here on the first edition of Weathering the Storm with the Rainses. We'll be back again with you real soon.